Have you ever felt like you're just carrying the weight of the entire world on your shoulders? Or maybe you know someone who seems so wise, like they've lived a dozen lifetimes already. Well, if that sounds familiar, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into the complex and often misunderstood archetype of the number 9. You're an old soul. Does that hit home? Maybe someone said it to you, or you've thought it about a friend. It's one of the most common things people say about a number 9. And honestly, it's the perfect place for us to start. It really gets to the heart of their unique way of seeing the world. All right, so let's start on the outside. What's the persona that a number 9 shows to the world? When you first meet them, what's that first impression? Usually, it's all about this incredible sense of serenity. Yeah, people will describe them as just so wise and compassionate. They've got this calm, emotionally deep vibe that can make you feel instantly at ease. But you might also pick up on something else, right? A little bit of distance, maybe a quiet sadness you can't quite name. It's almost like they're seeing and feeling things on a whole other level. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because what you see on the surface, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That calm, composed exterior is often hiding a much, much more turbulent inner world. So let's peel back those layers. Let's look at what's actually happening underneath it all, because this is where we find the real heart and soul of the number 9. Okay, this comparison just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the outside, they look so composed and calm. But on the inside, there is this profound, almost overwhelming emotional sensitivity. That wisdom everyone sees, a lot of that comes from an uncanny ability to literally feel other people's pain. That emotional depth, that's them feeling the weight of suffering on a global scale. And that distance, that's often them just trying to process the heaviness of endings, of loss, of completion. This is a question that just echoes inside the mind of a 9. They feel everything so deeply, other people's pain, the world's injustices, and it can be an incredibly painful and frankly, very lonely experience. So why? Why do they feel everything so intensely? Well, it all comes down to the way their mind is wired. A number 9 isn't just going through the motions of life. They are on a constant mission to understand its purpose. At their absolute core, their whole life is this relentless search for meaning. They are really here to understand the human condition, to get to the bottom of it all. And this makes their life unbelievably rich, but as we're seeing, it can also make it unbelievably heavy. A 9's mind just seems to operate on a different frequency. They're thinking in big pictures, in huge life cycles. They're obsessed with moral meaning and long timelines, always trying to connect every little thing that happens to some larger purpose. And that's exactly why they struggle so much with things that feel superficial or cruel. It just doesn't compute with the way they see the world. This right here, this is their internal compass. In literally any situation, good or bad, their mind just automatically starts searching, what's the bigger lesson here? What's the moral of this story? It's a nonstop, and you can imagine, sometimes exhausting, hunt for significance. Now, this deep compassion is a true gift. It is. But like any powerful force, it can get out of balance. And when a 9 gets overwhelmed, they can slip into their shadow side. And that's when their greatest strength turns into their heaviest burden. And you can really see that downward spiral here. It starts with just becoming emotionally heavy, carrying everyone's problems. That can quickly slide into a kind of martyrdom, where they start absorbing pain that isn't even theirs to carry. And if that goes on too long, it can curdle into this deep sense of hopelessness about the very same humanity they care so much about. So what's driving this? Well, it's fear. Deep-seated fears. For a 9, the fear of being seen as selfish is massive. So is the fear of letting go, ending a relationship or a chapter feels like they're abandoning someone. They are terrified of failing other people, which all leads back to their biggest fear of all, that their compassion is going to completely swallow them whole in self-sacrifice. But listen, this is not supposed to be a tragic story. Not at all. The journey of a number 9 is ultimately a journey towards wisdom. It's all about learning how to handle this incredible gift of compassion without letting it destroy them. This right here is the goal. A mature, healthy 9 finally understands that crucial difference between caring for someone and carrying them. They learn how to serve others without completely draining their own battery, and they learn the incredibly hard lesson of how to let go without being eaten alive by guilt.
And this becomes their new mantra. It's a declaration of independence, really, a declaration of healthy boundaries. It's this huge realization that their compassion is so much more powerful, so much more sustainable when it doesn't come at the cost of their own self. Their compassion finally becomes wise, not just heavy.
So how do they get there? How do they master this? It really boils down to these 5 key breakthroughs. First, learning that letting go is not a betrayal. Second, seeing that boundaries aren't walls. They actually protect your compassion. Third, realizing that while suffering happens, meaning doesn't require it. Fourth, knowing that true service has to include taking care of yourself. And finally, accepting that endings aren't failures, they're just a necessary part of gaining wisdom. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important idea of all. An unbalanced 9, trying to do it all alone, will always carry too much. But when they integrate these lessons, when they learn how to balance that huge heart with wise boundaries, they stop being a martyr, and they become what they were always meant to be, a guide for the rest of us.